Hi, I'm Susan Kennard, and welcome to the Spiritual Awakener. This is a podcast where I get to interview really cool people about their stories, their awakening stories, their bumps in the night, which is what I had. And if you go over to episode 1, you can hear my story of how I got woken in the night, and that was my spiritual awakening. But you might have an awakening story as well. Have you had a turning point in your life? Something where you feel, if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't be where I am today. Well, I feel my next guest, her name is Jeanie Cisco Meth. It's a really unusual name, and so it took a bit to get it. But I'm really excited to interview her because she's got a story of her spiritual awakening, which I think you're really going to resonate with. And definitely listen to the whole episode because she's got a free gift for you. So without any time wasted, I'm going to introduce my next guest. Welcome, Jeanie. Thank you for being on the Spiritual Awakener podcast.
No, Susan, thank you so much for having me here. I so appreciate it. Thank you. What
You're
a
so
great
welcome.
service you do. Yeah, great service.
So you must have had a spiritual awakening, right? We've all had them. What one, because we have many, right? Which one do you feel is something that's really significant for you to speak about who you are in the world?
I think when I was a kid, just, I don't know, like 8, 9 years old, I had a horse. I grew up on a dairy farm in Washington, and my home life was not very pleasant. My parents fought a lot. And so I'd go ride my horse. And the beautiful thing was our nearest neighbor was 3 miles away, and we lived by a bunch of warehouser land. So I could ride my horse wherever. And as I was riding my horse, I would talk to my angels. And
Wow.
I really
Such
felt,
freedom, such
yeah,
freedom. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I really
Mm-hmm.
truly believe that they were with me, that they were
Yeah.
there either riding my horse with me or surrounding me. And I just always felt so safe. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So
So,
you had, what children all have. I have 2 children myself. They're 13 and 12 now. But as a child, we used to live in a place where it was very free as well, orchards and, lots of land. And I remember talking to the elementals, the fairies and the angels as a child. And my mum would say, "Oh, just who are you talking to?" And like I'd just be skipping down the garden, happy as anything, and just talking to them. And of course, then you shut that down a bit, don't you? When you get a bit older.
right.
But definitely as little children, we're much more connected, I feel, to the universe, the multiverse, and all these beautiful elementals that are here. So if you're listening to this and you've got a child or a grandchild, and your child is talking to anybody, listen to them because they're probably much more aware than you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely people telling me, stop that, or that's weird,
I know,
or,
yeah.
you're embarrassing me, things like that. So,
Yeah, it's important for children to be honored, isn't it, Jeanie? Because I know definitely in my age, you just kind of really didn't talk about it, right? I was kind of a bit weird. But
right.
now, as conscious parents, let's hope that if you're listening to this, you're really conscious and you're aware, or you're definitely awakening, which is great. Think about that because actually we're still having a human experience, and so are they. The children are as well.
Right.
And they chose you,
Right.
which is really
Yeah.
important as well to remember. But
Yeah.
carry on, Jeanie. Let's hear your story. So you used to
Yeah.
ride this horse and you connected with your angels.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And then, because, I made the choice, it was forced, whatever you want to say, I kind of lost connection and went my own way. And recently, probably about 20 years ago, so I guess
Mm-hmm.
it's not that recent, but it seems recent. It
There's no
seems like
time, right? There's
yesterday.
no time.
I started reconnecting, and I started realizing that when I'm connected to God, my life goes better.
Yeah,
Not that my life is easier, I still have struggles,
yeah,
but I can ease through them with grace. And I know that on the other side, it's going to be better. And I know that I'm protected. I know that he
These are
holds.
all things that really, really resonate, because it's what I teach as well. It's like when we're connected, when we feel that the universe has our back, when we feel that we're not on our own, these are all things that, yeah, life happens and stuff happens. But when you know that, there's a sense of, I don't know, a sense of grounding, isn't there, with it, where you're safe. And before we recorded this, Jeanie and I were talking, and we were talking about that there's nothing in the world to be scared of, really, ever. Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
especially when you know you're not on your own.
Right. Yeah. And that really, this last year and a half has really driven that home clear into my heart. I've known it here for quite some time, but man, it is in my heart now, because financial difficulties, I think, have happened the world around, and I'll be coming up to a bill and I'm like, hey, Lord, Friday, got this bill to pay. Thursday evening, the money comes in, or Friday morning, the money comes in. And I'm like, after months and months of that, I'm like, just trust it, Jeanie, just trust it.
Yeah.
Because worrying does absolutely nothing to make anything better. And in fact, it makes it worse because I can't think. When emotion is high, my intelligence is low and I can't figure out what to do. But if I just calm down and just trust and just say, Lord, what do you want me to do? What's my next step? And I take that step, it always works. The problem is when I get caught up in that frantic energy of trying to make things happen, trying to force it to happen, then it's just, but if I just relax and calm down and open, the answers come. They always come.
I agree. And sometimes, what I say to people is the answers don't always come in that moment.
Right.
We might not, we do, we do often get the answers in that moment, but sometimes we don't get the answers in that moment, but it shows up. It shows up. And do you feel as well that it's about our energy, it's about our vibration that we're putting out to the world,
Yes,
that reflection? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I do a class called Tools for Taming the Bully Between Your Ears. And I do that usually once or twice every Saturday. And
Taming the bully between your ears is brilliant. It's like, what is that? Well, it's our mind, right?
Yeah, it's our, some people call it the monkey mind or whatever. I call it that negative energy that's trying to pull me off and decrease my vibration.
Tell us about how you help people, because obviously you're awakening, you remember it, and you know that as a child that was your acknowledgement. I think we come in knowing, then we forget, then it's our journey to remember again, right? And some people are just waking up now, as you said, like a year and a half, like we're recording this at the end of May, and just before the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. Actually, it's a big time about beliefs and awakening. But if you're listening to this and you're just awakening, this is perfect. It's perfect, because there's no time. It doesn't matter that you didn't awaken when you were 3, or younger. It doesn't matter. Now is the time for you to remember who you are. And it doesn't matter if you're 80 or 90. It really doesn't matter. It's part of your journey to remember who you are. And we forget, don't we?
Right.
Like we come in to forget so that we can remember. Yeah. I really believe that. So how do you help people, and what do you do for them?
So the first thing is I want people to realize is that you're valuable, that you're needed, that you're special, because you're living in this time and space. That means you're needed in this time and space. And so I want people to really cease the judgment. Just stop with the judgment of yourself and of others. I have found that when I judge myself, especially my body, very critical of my body, when I judge myself, I judge more people more frequently. And I used to think that,
listen to that, guys. Listen to that. Listen. Say it again, Jeanie, because I
when
think
I
it's
judge
really
myself,
powerful.
I judge people more frequently. I judge others more frequently. And when I'm kind and loving to myself, I'm much more kind and loving to others. And that took a while.
What we say to the children then, that I always used to say to mine when they were in mainstream, they're home educated now, but when they were in mainstream, was that if someone's being unkind to you, they're feeling really, really sad or really, really afraid, and it's for us to give them compassion, because they're feeling really, if they're being unkind, then they're feeling that about themselves.
Right. Yeah. I always say hurt people hurt people. And healed people heal people. So let's start the healing. Let's be kind.
Yeah, let's start the healing. Yeah. So carry on. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So first of all, it's that understanding that, hey, I am special. I am needed. I do have something to give. And I need to stop hiding my light under a bushel and start letting it shine. Because when I believe in me, I'm an example for others to believe in themselves and to move forward as well, to open and, move forward. And so then the second step is that perspective of remembering that hurt people hurt people. And so if somebody's lashing out to me or saying something mean to me, I can reach out with love and compassion because I know what they're going through, or at least I have an idea of what they're going through.
Yeah. I think that hurt people is very profound, actually. So simple, but very profound, because it allows, if you're listening to this and this resonates with you, it allows you to see that maybe your partner wasn't very kind to you, or somebody in the supermarket, or somebody in a car, or somebody at work, but actually they're hurting just as much. Yeah, it's beautiful, really beautiful.
One practice that I have just started implementing in my life is when I'm out in public, trying to reach out with my thoughts and touch people's hearts, and let them know that they're not alone. Let them know that they're loved. Let them know that they're special, because there is so much isolation still. Yeah, we're starting to open up again. We're starting to reconnect, but there's still so much fear and so much isolation that separates us, and we need one another. And so if I can somehow go through the day just mentally touching people with love and light and, hey, you're okay. It's all right. You're going to be okay. That's my new thing.
I love that thing. I love that new thing that you do. It's quite interesting where I live in the UK. I see it as quite free, actually, to be honest. I know a lot of people don't, but I see it as quite free. And I just smile. I just go about my day. I don't get asked anything, where's this, where's that, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't get asked anything. I just smile. I say good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. And I don't feel any restrictions with that, but that's because I walk about not feeling any restrictions,
Right.
And so, but many people do feel restricted. And so if we can send that smile to them, that light to them, then it is a really amazing thing to do. And in meditation as well, of course, send that out to the collective. Yeah. So, Jeanie, so you, I know you've written a book. Because we'll give that away later, right? So, I know you've written a book. What's your book called?
It's called Bully Proofing You: Improving Confidence and Personal Value from the Inside Out.
Wow.
It starts inside.
Wow. And it's something for people to really, is it like a self-help book? Is it something? Yes. Yeah.
It's practical. It's simple, but significant steps, because I like simple. They told me in elementary school that I was too stupid. I would never make it through school. And I had a lot of learning disabilities. And luckily, it was just the thing to kind of go, wait a minute, you don't tell me. I'm kind of that little tenacious rebel person. And I'm like, you don't tell me. And so I worked my bum off and made it through school. And then I became a high school teacher. And I wanted to help people, and I had learned a few tricks to help myself get through. And so I started sharing those with my students. And then in 2012, I transitioned from the classroom to the stage and sharing this message of empowerment and belief. And I love it. Absolutely. I love teaching. Love teaching.
But you were one of the best teachers for those kids, right? I always, whenever I meet anyone that's like, real kind of spiritual teacher, I'm like, oh my God, you were a teacher for kids too. I'm like, yay, because we need that, you know, we need. I mean, one of the reasons why I pulled my children out of mainstream education was because it wasn't the education I wanted for them.
Right.
You know, I
Right.
want them to be their beautiful light out in the world, whether they have 5 qualifications or not, you know. And clearly it shows that when you are really aligned to your mission, which is what you're really talking about here, is that yes, it goes from that place to that place. I worked in child protection for a long time. You know, that was my initial previous life journey. So then it goes from there, and it journeys and it journeyed, and you're now on the stage. I was on the stage after I didn't realize I was a platform medium, and didn't realize that being a platform medium was like my elementary, you would call it, right? So it, you know, to be a public speaker. And so the stage, whether it's virtual or non-virtual, is the platform to be able to share a message, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
And I think everyone's got that. I think everyone has a message, you know.
Yeah,
everyone has a story, you know, and that story is where we can really help people heal.
Amen.
So this book is brilliant because it's got this step by step, and so people can go through it, and can they dip in and out of it? Like they don't have to read it cover to cover. Can they dip in and out of it? Or?
Oh, they can. Yeah, they can absolutely. So it's a lot of stories because I love to teach through stories, and it's just, I had taught it at the high school. So I worked at an alternative high. So I dealt with kids who had been kicked out of mainstream, you know, and I saw it absolutely change and save lives.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I had other teachers saying, you need to reach more people. You need to reach more people. And I'm like, no, I'm safe right here.
Oh yeah, I just keep myself. Yeah, I just keep myself small for a while. Yeah.
And
the
then it
universe
was
had a bigger plan.
I call them God folks, you know, you really should. And I'm like, you know, and just stepping out in courage and just saying, Lord, I don't know where I'm going to land, but lead me, guide me, you know. And he absolutely has.
Wow. I mean, I know that to be true because I have no idea what I'm doing next year, but in 2022, right? I have no idea. And I actually quite like that. You know, I think what this has done, this world situation, has given us this place where we just go, oh, well, maybe I'll be in Hawaii teaching in November, which is a plan, by the way. But I maybe it's planned. November, Hawaii teaching, but maybe I won't, right? And it's like kind of okay about that. And I think this is what this has taught us all, is that actually being guided, which is what you're talking about, being guided, actually, you just kind of know that it doesn't really matter how it happens. It just happens.
Right.
And once you trust it and really go with the flow and just surrender, then you're like, okay, right, well, I don't know where this is going. As you said, I don't know where I'm landing, but I know that I'm always guided. And even if you don't believe in God, that's also fine. If you're listening to this and you don't believe in God, it's fine, because you've got your inner knowing, and that inner higher self knowing is also equal to a belief in anything, really, isn't it? It's like, you know, you get your gut feeling, you get your knowing.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's just that, like I said earlier, I call them God pokes, those little things that you're like, I should do that. Well, I don't know. And then, you know, you start talking yourself out of it. Or at least I do. And then, so I recently had this thought, I should take my neighbor some flowers. And I'm like, well, what, you know, why? And so it took me about a week and a half before I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just go take her the flowers. And it was beautiful. It was perfect. And even the timing was perfect. And so if I had taken them that day, I'm sure it would have been beautiful too. But the Lord knew I was going to wrestle for a week or whatever. I don't know. And so he started
just because you were busy, right? You see, you know, it's like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah.
And all of those little things, they're not coincidences. I believe that they are set up for us by our higher power. So
I agree. No coincidences in life. Absolutely none. It's for us to sort of determine, isn't it? And sort of discern between what feels a resonance or a vibrational match and what doesn't.
right,
Yeah.
right. And that comes back kind of to the vibration, right? And so I will have something come in, and at first it feels beautiful, but then my junk gets on it and brings it down.
Mm.
And so, the higher my vibration, we were talking about this kind of before we started,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't want to get sick, I keep my vibration high. And I think of it as kind of one of them bug zappers, because I'm vibrating and I'm high, and the diseases or the bad thoughts come and it just poof, it burns them up.
Yeah. And you know what, guys, you listen to this, you can do this, right? So you can just imagine expanding your vibration and just seeing it as pure light, and everything in that vibration just zaps, like Jeannie say, zaps away anything that is not a vibrational match, and that's much better than thinking about fear, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
want people, when they're in my presence, to feel calm, to feel love, to feel secure. And, I want them to say, I like me best when I'm with you. I like that, or I like me best when I leave you, so that I can carry that with me out into the world, and we can share this with more people.
So tapping into that inner knowing of unconditional love, so that, what I'm hearing from you is that it's that relationship that we have with ourselves that we can reflect in another, isn't it? But having that person like you to reflect that in another allows them to remember who they are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's that calming influence that sometimes I need someone to calm me down. Sometimes I'm the calming influence for someone else, but it's just that steady grounding. It's okay. We got this. It's okay. And being able to tap fully into that and knowing it. I say there's two types of knowing. There's one, I know it in my head. And then there's one, I know it in my heart. And when I know it in my heart is when I'm living it. And I love that.
Yeah. And I think so much, we might get caught up in, obviously, dramas of the world and everybody else's stuff, and that's in our head, isn't it? That's like our thinking. It's the bully brain, you call it, that part of us. But when we drop down into that heart space in the silence, just for that second, we come out of that and we just come back to that, remembering that we've got all the answers. And I think that all the answers within is really important, and we don't really need to kind of look outside. We definitely don't need to watch the television to get our answers. So we can come within to find those answers, and not to do anything from fear. Always do it from that calm space. And Jeannie's talking about, that presence of calm. And if you do believe, in God, in the Lord, in the universe, whatever you feel, a higher aspect of yourself, you don't have to call it anything, but just that knowing that you are always looked after, I think, is also key, isn't it?
I had a mentor of mine tell me faith and fear are both a decision. The question is, what are you deciding? What are you choosing? And I was like, wow, because both of them are going into the future and creating a story. What story am I telling myself? I like the faith one a lot better than the fear one.
I mean, my daughter says to me, Mum, we're never afraid of anything. And I said, I know. I said, I'm really not. And then when she's around people that are afraid, she's like, oh, what are they afraid of? And I'm like, well, they're just afraid of their own perception of what could or could not happen. And I said, this it's an opportunity to expand. It's not an opportunity to contract.
Right.
And fear gives us that contraction.
Right.
And I think definitely with children, it's really important at the moment, not just mine, but everyone's children.
Right.
Really important to help them understand that they can be who they want to be in the world.
Yeah.
And I know you know, being a previous teacher, really important, you know, that those beautiful souls that they touched you and you touched them, that will have changed their life, their whole perception of what the world is. Even if they came from, like you did, you know, your parents have arguing all the time, or being in an environment where perhaps they're not conscious parents. If they have that time with you, or if you're listening to this and you're a parent or a teacher, they have that time with you just in that moment to remember that they can be who they want to be in the world, then there's no fear.
Right.
I think that's really important. Yeah. So Jeanie, what else? You said that you run groups, programs. Tell us about that, and tell us your website as well.
So I absolutely love to teach and I love to learn. And so I do a class one Saturday a month that's called Tools for Taming the Bully Between Your Ears. And our next one actually is June 19th. So if you want to attend as my guest, let me know. I'd love to have anybody attend.
Wow.
And it is something that is near and dear to my heart because I love helping people. And it's a time to join with like-minded people, to learn something that maybe you forgot, and to take the tools that you can and apply it to your life immediately. You know, how do I shift from fear to faith? How do I shift from unconsciousness to consciousness? You know, because I'm tired of living where I'm at. You know, I want something different. And I think a lot of people are searching, and I want to help. I think of myself kind of like a lighthouse, shining a light into the darkness to help people find their way.
It's beautiful.
And we need more of that.
And people are waking up. People are, you know, waking up and realizing that there's so much more than who they thought they were. For a start, a soul having a human experience, right?
Right.
People never thought we were a soul having a human experience.
Right.
But now when we can see that, and the fear of death, the fear of dying that, you know, people have, when you realize that there's no fear of dying, then there's nothing to fear. So then you realize, well, actually I am a incredible light in the world, as you're saying, a lighthouse, you know, an incredible light in the world for your own unique reason.
Right. Yeah. Because we can, so when I was a teacher, I remember thinking, you know, that, man, I have to reach every student. I have to help every student. Then I realized, wait a minute. If I was the only one that needed to reach them, I would be the only staff member, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I will reach the ones that I need to reach. Russ will reach the ones he needs to reach. You know, Kathy will reach the ones she needs to reach. And I realized that we all have our unique voice set for people that will hear us, and maybe nobody else. And that's really why I transitioned from the classroom to the stage, is the Lord told me, people need to hear your voice, the way you say it. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying those things, but they don't say it the way you say it. And that's exactly true for everybody. There's somebody that needs to hear your experience and how you got through it so they can get through theirs.
Yeah. And that is the you know, that everybody has that story, don't they? They have the story that has led them to where they are. And usually there's adversity that goes with that. Yeah. And that adversity is, you know, brings them to who they are.
Right. It's my current struggles that are building my muscles for my future obstacles. Yeah.
You got all these amazing little sayings. Say it again. Jeanie, say it again.
I told you I like simple, you know, write it, you know, indelible ink on my hands so I can remember. So when I'm going through that struggle, I'm like, it's okay. I'm building muscles.
Yeah.
Because there is no elevator to success. You got to take the stairs.
Yeah, and sometimes I agree.
Right. You got to claw your way up the stairs or up the side of the mountain or whatever. And so it's going to take strength and courage and endurance to make it where I want to go. And so my struggles are getting me ready for that.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you feel, oh my God, it just feels like such a massive mountain and there's no way I can do that, then know that we've all been at that place. Mine was definitely in an abusive relationship, emotionally abusive relationship. And you don't think you can ever move forward from it, but you absolutely do. And
Yes.
so you know, step by step by step by step, each step that you take is an incredible mountain in itself, you know. And it's and not to look at it and say, oh my goodness, well, I've got 50 more steps to go. Look at it as, look at the 3 that I've stepped on,
Right.
and look at where I am and where and I'm looking at the 4th, and the 4th looks pretty good as well, you know. Like, it's so looking back at that achievement of where you've come from. And if you're listening to this, you know, you've achieved a lot, right? You're
Right.
listening to this,
Yeah.
and you're here, and you're either just stepping onto that awakening path, or you're fully awakened and you know who you are. And any of that is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think so when I first stepped away from the classroom to the stage, or even when I stepped in the classroom, I keep looking back and going, wait, I've gone through some really tough stuff. I was also in an abusive marriage. Now I'm married to the most incredible man in the whole world, 18
Oh, well,
and a
there's
half
hope. There's
years.
hope for me then. There's hope for
Absolutely.
me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I tell people, if you're
Yeah.
in a bad relationship, you cannot find a good one. You've got to let go
Yeah.
of that old one, because a closed hand can't get anything. And I'm sure you've heard of that monkey trap. The monkey reaches in, grabs a hold of the peanut, and they're stuck. I
Yeah.
have a tendency to do the same thing, and sometimes I've got to surrender and let go so that I can receive.
Yeah,
And and
exactly.
and that,
And if we're holding resentments or anything like that, and the guides are giving me this. So if we're holding resentments or for another, then, or for ourselves, then it's really difficult to receive.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So lovely space there of pause, you know, because it allows us to just be in that moment and feel, wow, yeah, actually, maybe there is a bit of me, if you're listening to this, a bit of me that holds that. Or maybe I've beaten myself up for far too long. I've bullied my mind, as you know, Jeanie says, you know, the bully in your mind. Maybe you felt that way. Well, Jeanie has a special gift for you.
Yes.
If you would like it. So
Yeah.
Jeanie, tell people how they can get this gift and what the gift is.
So the gift is a digital copy of my book and workbook that goes along with it. That's a $57 value for both of them. And
Wow.
I would love to give these to your audience, just because I've loved being here with you today. I have never offered both before.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I just feel
You just
inspired.
feel drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you send me an email to Jeanie at jeannieciscometh.com and just say, hey, Jeanie, heard you on Susan's show. I'd love to get a copy of your book and workbook. I would love to get that out to you immediately. And the
Wow.
beautiful thing about my name is I am the only Cisco Meth. So, and it's spelled just like computer accessories and yes, the drug. And so if you
Cisco
can't
Meth.
remind me, yeah, if you can't remember how she spelled Jeanie or whatever, that's okay. Just look me up, find me on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and say, hey, I heard you on Susan's show. I'd love a copy. Give me your email. I'll get that right out to you.
So if you say the podcast, The Spiritual Awakener,
Either one.
then Jeanie will know that you were listening to it on my podcast. And yeah, you get that free gift. And so how can they get hold of you? So say, yeah, definitely they want the book. I'm sure you're going to you must let me know how many people email you for
I
it.
would love to, yeah.
But probably some of my membership will probably be emailing you for that as well.
Thank you. I love that. Yeah.
They listen to my podcast, so it's really nice. What was I going to say? But is there a way that people can work with you? Obviously you'll run your group on Saturday. Can they contact you via your website or?
Yeah, jeannieciscometh.com.
Oh, easy.
Also we're on Facebook, Jeanie Cisco Meth. My personal page is pretty full, but I do have an official Jeanie Cisco Meth that you can follow. And I have some different groups underneath that as well. We have a Taming the Bully Between Your Ears group. We also have a doTERRA essential oils group, because I truly believe in using plants and leaves and flowers to help my body, So those are some different things that we do in the world. And I look forward to being of service in any way that I can to your audience.
Yeah, brilliant. So if you're listening to this and you feel you've got this bully between your ears, and I mean, definitely get in contact with Jeanie and receive that free gift, which is definitely, a beautiful offering. Thank you for that, Jeanie.
Absolutely.
It's really, really kind of you. And if you feel that you have something within you that you've been thinking for a while, oh my goodness, what is it that stops me from being this being of light in the world? What is it that stops me? Listening to this conversation may have helped you, because it may help you realize just for a moment, even for one moment, that actually it is possible to step on the ladder just one step at a time and not feel, we see many people talking about 5 steps to become a millionaire, right? I think that those steps might be many years in between each other. It's possible, right? It's possible also to create anything you want, but if you can just feel it this way, if you're thinking from the perspective of success, and most people do, they're like, well, I'm not successful, I can't do this, I can't help people, I'm not good enough. Think about it just one step at a time. And what Jeanie was saying today was really profound, and all her little ditties that she has, which I love. What was that one? Just remember that one where it was the struggle one. I like that one. Say that one again.
That my current struggles are building my muscles for my future obstacles.
I really like that one, because we are going to get future obstacles, right? But it's how we perceive them, which is how big they are. Right. Yeah. So if we perceive them as, oh, that's interesting, that's come into my experience, I wonder what it is within me that I need to acknowledge or release or whatever it might be, rather than, oh my God, like that is the worst thing in the world that could have ever happened, and how am I going to deal with that? Just seeing it as, okay, thank you for showing me that. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God, if your beliefs. Thank you for showing me that. And where can I heal from that? And I think that is a really good place to
absolutely
leave it. So Jeanie, thank you so much for being on the Spiritual Awakener. It's been great fun. I've really enjoyed it.
I loved it as well. And it's been a while since I've been on a European show, so it feels great to be on one again.
Does it? Yeah. The English energy. Yeah, it's very different, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It's very soothing. I love it.
Thank you so much. Well, I know that we'll be keeping in touch, definitely, and definitely take Jeanie up on her offer. Contact her for that free digital copy of her book and her workbook as well, so you can do some self-help work.
But I also want to offer, if you feel like you're the only person at your business that is awakened or whatever, we do virtual trainings for businesses to help bring it in a scientific manner so that they're more open to receiving it. Sometimes, businesses think, oh, that's just this airy-fairy. No, very scientifically proven steps that they can use in their business. And so you can have a more respectful workplace as well.
And a more conscious business. That's a really good thing. Yeah, really good thing to close on. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here on this episode of the Spiritual Awakening podcast. If you have a spiritual awakening story or a turning point that you'd like to share with my audience, I would love to hear from you. Find me at susankennard.co.uk, and much love. See you very soon on the next episode.